Hi guys, welcome to the first recipe episode of the series of Hayley the Allotment Baker. It's great to finally be getting in the kitchen and baking my first recipe. Now, the plan today was to start this video as the very first one in my garden in the Norfolk sunshine, having a chat with you guys about how we're going to do the recipe and basically how nice it's going to be. However, untypically of Norfolk, the weather has completely turned, which has resulted in me being sat in my conservatory, which wasn't the ideal scenario. So no sitting out in the deck chairs in the garden with a nice drink, talking to you guys. It's sat in the conservatory with a cup of tea and the cat, which is fine, which is great. As you know, for those of you who watched the last episode, we are going to be making rhubarb crumble today. Now, rhubarb is one of my favourite things from the allotment. I love rhubarb. And I almost get sad at this time of year because I know it's getting to the point where you need to start to leave it, let it rejuvenate, let it recuperate so it has a good year next year. I usually stop picking it around the end of June. I might take the odd bit early July, but I tend to leave it be at this sort of time of the year. So this will probably be the only recipe you'll see this year with rhubarb in it. I might go up to the allotment and get some more to do a batch of rhubarb and strawberry gin, but that will probably be part of a video rather than a whole video because it doesn't take very long to make. So assume this will be the one and only rhubarb video of 2020. I have got some rhubarb wine that is nearly ready to drink as well. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen part of the journey of the rhubarb wine that started back in February. So it's been fermenting for a fair while. It was bottled last weekend and it's got another 3 weeks to go until we can drink it. So really looking forward to that. Hopefully it'll be great. It is a long wait. It is a long wait just to make sure that it's worked, but I'd rather be patient and it tastes good than taste it too soon. But I suppose I should stop talking and we should get into the kitchen and get this rhubarb crumble made. First of all, because it's the first recipe video, you guys won't know what to expect. So what I'll do is I will put a list of instructions at the start, get everything that you need, so that if you do want to go ahead and make the recipe, you can just jump back on the video, get the list and either screenshot it on your phone or copy it down, write a list of everything that you'll need to get to make the recipe. So hopefully it'll make it easier all round for you all as well. So without further ado, let's get to the kitchen. Okay, so before we start, as I said, I'll give you the list of ingredients now so we can get going and so you can write it down or screenshot if you need to. You will also need to preheat your oven to 200 degrees, or if you're using a fan oven, 180, or for those who use it, gas mark 6. So the ingredients you are going to need is going to be 500 grams of rhubarb, chopped into chunks around the length of your thumb, 100 grams of caster sugar, and 3 tablespoons of port if you want to use that for your rhubarb crumble. I don't use it personally, but I know other people do like to put port in their rhubarb. For the crumble topping, you will need 140 grams of self-raising flour, 85 grams of butter that has been chilled, 50 grams of light muscovado sugar, brown, light brown, and again optional, 50 grams of chopped walnuts. So again, that's to your choice. Obviously anyone with a nut allergy, not a good choice. Okay, so that's the list of all the ingredients. Hopefully you've had long enough on the screen for you to write them down or to just take a screenshot. And I'm just going to put the oven on and let's get cracking. Okay, so the first step in the video is to chop and weigh 500 grams of rhubarb. We need to get the rhubarb on first early to get that stewing, to get all those juices out before it goes into the oven. Rhubarb, as you can imagine, can take quite a while to cook, so we have to stew it off first just to get it soft, and like I said, get all those juices out, and then when it's in the oven it won't have to be in for very long. Now make sure you wash your rhubarb before you use it. Some people choose to peel all of the outer layer of the rhubarb off as well, particularly if at their allotment or where they've bought it from it isn't necessarily organic. Now my rhubarb is organic, it's grown with no pesticides, it's grown basically under my control, as silly as that sounds. So give it a good wash, just use purely natural fertilisers at the allotment, so I know that it will be fine, and the skin, the outer edge will go soft anyway when it's cooked, so I don't worry too much about peeling the skin. I also speak to people who force their rhubarb as well, which involves placing a terracotta or similar kind of container over the rhubarb while it's young to force it to grow to get the light. Basically they cover it to deprive it of any light. So yeah, they do that to force the rhubarb to grow more quickly, which again, yep, totally good idea. I have 8 crowns up at the allotment, so I always have plenty to go around. Because this is the first video as well, guys, if there are any problems with the camera angle, if there's anything you'd rather be able to see which you can't, please let me know. I mean, I'm just presuming when I'm filming it that you can see everything as clearly as you need to, which obviously may not be the case. Okay, so about 50 grams left to go. Obviously with the ends, if you don't want to keep them, I just chuck them straight back in the compost to break down. Oh, it must be about there now. Yeah. Maybe I should have put a bowl on here. Tip for next episodes: when chopping things small, treat yourself to a bowl. Okay, so we're there. So that's 500 grams of rhubarb now going into the pan. Now we need to add the sugar. Okay, so I've now weighed out my sugar, 100 grams of caster sugar. And I'm going to put it in the pan. So now's the time as well, if you're going to use port, you need to put in 3 tablespoons of port. Now I'm not going to use the port, so what we're going to do now is we need to cook the rhubarb on a medium heat on the stove for around 15 minutes. Now people always say to me, do you not add water when you are stewing your rhubarb? And no, I don't. I have it as it is. The juices will come from the rhubarb and they will obviously mix with the sugar and it will turn into a lovely syrupy mixture, which is ideally what we want. If you are concerned or you feel that the rhubarb isn't releasing as much juice as you'd like, then go ahead and put some water in. I'd rather it put your mind at rest and you added a bit of water for peace of mind. I will not leave the rhubarb on the stove unattended at any point. So if I feel that the juices aren't being released quickly enough, I'm always there to add some water if I need to, but I find most of the time I don't. So we're going to go over to the stove now. The aim is to have the rhubarb still hold its shape. Obviously you want to be able to eat it while it's in the crumble, just not a sloppy mess, but not to be hard either, to be lovely and soft. So let's go over to the stove now and get this cooking. Okay, so we're now on the stove. Like I say, this is going to be around 15 minutes cooking time. I like to keep it moving initially until the rhubarb starts to expel its juices. But like I say, if you are concerned, please just add a bit of water if it puts your mind at rest. But anyway, we'll come back in a few minutes. I'm going to stand here and watch and wait for the rhubarb to stew. Okay, as you can see, we're now about 5 minutes in. The rhubarb is already starting to really soften. And as you can see, there's plenty of liquid in there as well. So, let's see if you can see. There's lots of liquid in there. So, it is all being released from that rhubarb as it is starting to soften. Now, in an ideal world, I would have liked more of the rhubarb to have pink on it, but that would have been a bit earlier in the season. Like I said, rhubarb's about done now for ideal eating time, so it's not as good as earlier in the season, but it will still be delicious. Usually the rule of thumb is the greener the rhubarb, the more tart it is, so the pinker it is, the sweeter, the greener, the more tart. So if you like your rhubarb crumble really sweet and you've got green rhubarb, just add a bit of extra sugar. I'm not really promoting a healthy diet here, am I? Oh well. Okay, I've taken you off the tripod a second just so you can have a closer look. See how soft that is now. That is really squidgy, and you can actually see some of the rhubarb is breaking apart. So we don't want to keep it going much longer than this. You can see there that it's really starting to get really soft. So what I'm going to do is do it for another couple more minutes. There's some tougher bits like that bit at the back, that's still a bit hard. Yeah, just a couple of minutes and then we'll take it off the heat. Okay, so the next step is to put your rhubarb, when it's all nice and soft, into a medium-sized baking dish. Now, you can add more sugar at this point if you like. I know I sound like I'm obsessed with sugar. This is a one-off. So you can start by scooping the rhubarb into your dish. So that is now ready. I am going to put just a sprinkle more sugar over the top. Like I say, with green rhubarb it is likely to be a little more tart than your pink rhubarb. I mean, there's still bits of pink in there, but it is still likely to be a bit more sour. I mean, I like a bit of a bite, don't get me wrong. One of my favourite desserts is a lemon tart, and I love that when it's got a bit of zing to it. Just wish I could grow lemons on my allotment, but never mind. Okay, so once you're happy with the rhubarb, we need to go on and start making the crumble. So I'll put this to one side and I'll get all the ingredients ready to do that. So now we've got the rhubarb set off to one side, I've got the rest of my ingredients ready. First thing I'm going to do though is take my rings off, because with making any crumble it's likely to get a bit messy. So first thing you need to do is to add your self-raising flour. I know I said I wouldn't go over it too much, but 140 grams into your bowl. And then add your 85 grams of butter. Okay, now what you need to do is obviously rub this in. For those of you who made crumble before, obviously you know what you're doing, but basically you need to rub it in with your hands, not stir it, and you're going to rub it in until you get the texture of breadcrumbs. Okay, so what we're going to do now that the crumble is, well, crumbled, is add the light brown sugar, 50 grams of that, and then walnuts if you're adding them. I am going to add them, but mine are walnut halves, so I'm going to break them down a bit more first before I put them in. Big walnut fan, so definitely adding them. You could add other things to crumble. You don't have to add walnuts. I know people that have added chocolate chunks to their crumble, people that add fruit or raisins to their crumble. You can do whatever you want. So yeah, like I say, 50 grams is the amount of walnuts you can put in. So similarly with anything else. Okay, so that's ready. My hands aren't too bad, so I'll keep going. So mix the sugar in with your hands as well. Don't be tempted to get a spoon. Give it a good mix. Relatively straightforward. Just get that all well distributed in the crumble, like so. And like I said, I'm just going to give these walnuts a bit of a chop. They're quite large. There's not many, so hopefully it won't take too long. Okay, so they're going in now as well. And I'll give that one final mix. Sent flour everywhere then. Okay, so we'll bring the crumble, I always call it crumble, bring the rhubarb back over. And you just want to, you can use a spoon for this if you prefer, but you can just sprinkle the crumble over the top. Now again, if you really, really love your crumble, by all means make a bigger batch for a thicker layer. This glass tin, that's not a thing. This glass dish, it's probably a better choice of word, that I'm using is around, I would say 15 by 25-ish centimetres. This will comfortably serve 6. Well, unless you're really hungry. Pull that tiny bit on the top. There we are. Okay, so that is done and is ready for the oven. You know what I'm going to say to you now. If you want to put a bit more sugar on, you can put a bit more sugar on. That's entirely up to you. But now I'm going to put this in the oven 180 degrees for a fan oven, 200 degrees otherwise, or gas mark 6. Now it will take around 30 minutes to cook, but keep your eye on it. As soon as the top starts to look golden brown, then you can take it out. So I'm going to get this in the oven now, and you'll be able to join me when it's cooked. Okay, so I've had a good clear up and I've just turned the oven off. It's been in there for 25 minutes, so a little under the half an hour, but it is golden brown on top. So now I'll get it out of the oven for you. And there we have it. One bubbly, golden brown rhubarb crumble. Okay, it's definitely time for a little taste test before we round off the video. Has cooled down a bit now. Well guys, that's it for my first recipe episode. I hope you enjoyed following the recipe with me, and I hope it makes you want to go and try it yourself. And we also need to answer the debate whether you serve rhubarb crumble with custard, cream or ice cream, or plain, like I've got it right now. But I know that I'm just going to have a nice sit down, watch the world go by and enjoy my rhubarb crumble. Any further recipe suggestions would be appreciated. You can leave it in the comments for me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and you can always subscribe as well. I'll leave my Instagram and Facebook links above as well. Please give me a follow on those too. And until the next time, I'll see you soon.